Today we got to see the quarterbacks, tight ends, and wide receivers. Let's take a look at everyone and look at the biggest stories from the first day of the NFL Combine.
Jets, Jets!
Welcome in. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, I go live every Monday, 8 o'clock for my live call-in show, and then Tuesday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we do our live Talking Jets panel with myself, O'Leary, and Green Bean. So make sure you tune into all those to get all your Jet questions answered, and we can talk about all this stuff from the Combine and everything we're about to go over right now, and I'm all sorts of excited. The Combine, it's just a tool. I know everyone wants to get worked up about the Combine. We're looking at 40 times, we're looking at this, we're looking at that. It's a tool. You got to use it along with watching tape, along with pro days, along with the Senior Bowl, along with all these little workouts throughout the course of the season. And it's just one tool to utilize to get the proper grade on all these players. So while everyone's going to make a huge deal out of some things and a small deal out of like some other stuff, there's going to be a ton of overreactions in this and a bunch of guys that we're going to have to look back at and see a little bit more tape on, guys that rose, guys that fell. But let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about players that the Jets were possibly taking a look at over the course of today, yesterday, last few days. A list of players that we were kind of taking a look at that have met with the Jets. TREYLON, BURKS, John Dotson, George Pickens, Jeremy Ruckert, Cole Strange, Matthew Butler, Malik Willis, Jack Cohn, and Tyler Linderbaum. Those were the guys that I've seen linked to us so far. Those numbers next to the guys I have listed right there, those are going to be all the Pro Football Focus ranks. That's their overall rank on their big board. So you have a rough idea with the caliber of prospect that we might be potentially looking at here. And look, there's a whole lot we can get into right now. Let's jump off with the quarterbacks, because that's always like the biggest news of the bunch. And it really kind of is rough, because this isn't a very great quarterback class to begin with, and no one is overly standing out. Malik Willis seems to be like the guy that people are going to try to get in the first round. It seems like they had him ranked somewhere around 22 when we've seen him connected to the Steelers. Obviously, the Washington Commanders are going to be looking for a new quarterback, as well as a few other teams. So could he wind up being valuable enough and make his draft stock rise just enough? Well, just before the Combine, we got to see what looks like a massive bag of weed being transferred from one Malik Willis to a crazy hippie on the side of the road. No, I'm kidding. It looks like he's providing food to someone who's just a little down on their luck. This is really cool. I like seeing this from Malik Willis. I like seeing these videos. These are nice. This is like good stuff. There's always like so much like negative light shined on some of the controversial aspects of the NFL. It's kind of nice to see like this kid coming out and doing some nice things. As far as Kenny Pickett goes, the other name that we're really kind of seeing towards the top of the draft, he was connected with the Carolina Panthers, who don't have a second-round pick because we own their second-round pick, unless they have a second-round pick from something else. They'd either have to take him in the first round or look at trading in some capacity. So how did he do? Well, the whole story about him was his hand size. How big were his hands going to measure in it? They measured in at 8.5 inches, and that would be the smallest in the league for a quarterback. In college, he fumbled 26 times. Not looking good for the trade value at number 10 in terms of Kenny Pickett. I would say Malik Willis provides the best opportunity for the Jets to potentially move back from that number 10 pick. So something to keep your eyes on for sure. As far as the tight ends go, we didn't really see we saw some cool risers. Like JELANI Woods is probably the one from Virginia that showed out the most. This guy measured in at like 6'7", and what did he have? He had 34.5-inch arms, 82-inch wingspan, 24 reps on the bench press. This guy definitely helped his draft stock. Everyone wanted to look at Jeremy Ruckert and Trey McBride. Really excited. Trey McBride did not run the 40. I think there's a little bit of concern. I don't think he's going to run super fast. A lot of people probably predict somewhere in the 4.6s or so. Not ideal for what you would hope to be the top tight end. Jeremy Ruckert, on the other hand, did not run the 40 or participate really, aside from, I think the bench press was the only thing he wound up doing. So he winds up going to participate at his pro day. So we'll get a little bit more answers there. I do think tight end-wise, there's a lot of options. I still like Charlie Kolar a lot later in the draft. If you can get a JELANI Woods somewhere a little bit later, maybe that's an opportunity to strike. But I think as of right now, it seems like Ruckert and McBride will both be available for the Jets at 35 and 38. At least that's kind of the read I'm kind of getting on it. And Trey McBride, what are you doing? Telling people that the Jets are talking to you and they're all in on you. So if he's there at 35, I would be pretty surprised if the Jets did not pull the trigger on him. But it's cool. It's fun to see this. I like anytime the Jets are connected to someone and the player seems to be enthusiastic about it, it just makes me all sorts of happy. I just want to see this sort of stuff. Then we get to talk about the wide receiver class. And this was the talk of today because this was a record-setting amount of fast wide receiver times. Now, this class does not appear to be very top-heavy. It's not like we have a Jamar Chase or some other elite caliber prospect in here, but we have a lot of guys that are going to provide a lot of solid depth. Now, this was the fastest class of wide receivers. We had 9 guys go sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. We had 9 wide receivers go in the 2019 class. That was a stacked wide receiver class in the first 2 rounds, so maybe you get 9 guys in this one spread out across the 2 rounds. It'd be kind of nice. The top 40 time wound up going to Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. Originally, they said he ran a 4.21, which would have broken the record at the Combine, but they have a new official with the stopwatch, and his reaction time's not so good. They had to, give the official time for... Well, they give the official time every way, but he was just a little bit off on pretty much, every time. So, his wound up dropping down. I know Olave's time was, 4.26, and then that dropped to, I think a 4.39 or something like that. So, very, very interesting as far as the timing aspect of things. As far as best risers, Calvin Austin the third, 5'8", 170 pounds, had an 11 foot 3-inch broad jump, 39-inch vertical, and a 4.32 40-yard dash. This guy was blazing fast. He lit the Combine up. But the best shining star from the wide receiver group today was Christian Watson, the wide receiver from the Senior Bowl that Jet fans are all sorts of hyped on. We've been kind of talking about him as a 3rd, maybe 4th round pick, but I don't know after this Combine if he's going to make it to us at 35 or 38. I think if he makes it to you there, you are going to have to take him. There's no way he's going to make it to you in the 3rd round, not with the numbers he's putting up right now, combined with the way he performed at the Senior Bowl. 6'4" he measured in at, 208 pounds, had 10 and 1/8 inch hands. Very good. Anytime you're over the 10-inch mark, that is definitely solid. He beat everyone with an 11.4-inch broad jump and had a blazing fast 4.36 40-yard dash. Now, that is just crazy fast. The other guys that kind of highlighted the speed guys as far as the top ones, Chris Olave ran a 4.39. Garrett Wilson ran a 4.38. So the 2 Ohio State receivers running sub 4.4 as well. I would say Garrett Wilson definitely put himself at the top of the list in terms of wide receivers. I would say he is the guy if you're going to take one at number 10. Drake London measured in fine. Him and TREYLON Burks both measured in 1 inch shorter than their listed heights on their rosters. I think instead of 6'3", TREYLON Burks was 6'2". Drake London, normally listed at 6'5", was 6'4" or so. But Drake London did not run or participate in drills today. He's still recovering from his ankle injury that he suffered week 8 of the college football season, if I'm not mistaken. So he will perform at his pro day. So his 40-yard dash is something that a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye on. If he winds up running a fast time for that height, he'll start talking. We'll start talking about him possibly at number 10 as well. I think he's somewhere in that conversation for sure. Now, TREYLON Burks, oh man, he did not have a very good day about it. We got a not so great score from him. He wound up with a 6.31 after measuring in so good. He had a really nice weigh-in, the 6'2", 225 pounds, 33-inch arms, 79-inch wingspan, just a big dude. So I'm watching this, I'm thinking, this guy's going to absolutely destroy the Combine. And he definitely, I would say he underwhelmed. I would not, at this point right now, I would not spend the number 10 overall pick on TREYLON Burks. It's definitely given me cause for concern. That's not to say I wouldn't eventually come back to that conclusion. But right now, I think it would be kind of a tall task to ask. Now, Treylon Burks is most commonly compared to A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel. So if you look at their RAS scores, he's a whole 1.5 lower than A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel. So not really great. So you really have to go back and watch some more tape and just determine if this guy is worthy of a first-round pick. Who knows? Maybe with this type of score, maybe if this Pro Football Focus ranking is correct, they rank him at 29. Maybe that is accurate and he winds up falling to the Jets in the second round. I would love me some Treylon Burks in the second round. Both A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel fell to the second round. Deebo Samuel was the 36th overall pick, and A.J. Brown was 51, I believe. So that could be the wheelhouse for Treylon Burks. Now, in general, what type of receivers does Joe Douglas like drafting? In general, draft-wise, he really likes the RAS score. So that's a relative athletic score. The closer that is to the number 10, the better you are, the better physical athletic specimen you are. So year one with Adam Gase, I do think Joe Douglas went hard after those types of prospects because they're kind of, I don't want to call them scheme-proof, but if you draft a really good athlete, you could try to develop them into your scheme. And if you didn't think Adam Gase was going to be there for the long term, which, let's be honest, I don't think Joe Douglas really believed that, probably went for the higher RAS scores. Mekhi Becton, Zuniga, Mims. Ashton Davis wound up not having one because he didn't participate at the Combine because he was hurt, but I would imagine he would have been a really high guy. You look at the two receivers that we've taken in Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims had a 9.76. Elijah Moore had an 8.65. So you could see the kind of receiver that Joe Douglas is trying to get in here. Now, obviously, we want Denzel Mims to play a little bit better than we got this past year, and hopefully we have a future with him here. But it's going to be interesting nonetheless. There's a lot of storylines to still go on. Tomorrow, we have the offensive line and the running backs. Saturday are the defensive linemen and the linebackers. And Sunday, place kickers or punters, kickers, and defensive backs. So we got a bunch of coverage over the course of the next few days. Guys, let me know who you like the most from the Combine day one, quarterback-wise, running back, or quarterback, wide receiver, tight end-wise. Where do we go from here? Whose stock rose the most? Whose stock dropped the most? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, go Jets.
Jet!